What's going on, Tamers? It's me, your resident Digivegan. But today is actually a good thing because our deck profile is going to consist of a 100% plant-based deck. I'm of course talking about the new Hydramon and Bloomlord green deck that got featured in EX3. The deck is incredibly strong and surprisingly pretty wallet-friendly at the same time. Probably one of the cheapest decks to build in the entire series. That said, go ahead and grab your favorite salad dressing and let's get into today's deck. Alright, so as we get into the deck profile cam here, I just want to take actually a quick moment as an aside. You know, there's something like 30% of you folks watching who are subscribers, and I just really wanted to say thank you so much for your support. The channel has really grown a ton in the past couple months, and it really is thanks to you folks. And so I just want to say again, I really appreciate you guys, and I really hope that you folks keep watching and you enjoy the videos. Now, about that other 70% that's not subscribed, y'all a bunch of dirty sons of bitches. So actually going through the deck here, we're going to first start with the Digitama level 2s and we're going to work our way up into the deck. So first up we got our level 2s. We're going to run 4 copies of EX2's Yugioh and then the 1 copy of BT2 Argomon. So for me, I personally favor card draw, and so Yugioh helps me get that by resting opponent's Digimon. I get to draw a card once per turn. Argomon, on the other hand, if your Digimon unsuspends during the active phase, you can gain a memory. So if you want more memory, then you can run this guy. If you want more card draw, then you can run this guy. And you can mess with the splits however you want to. The level 3s for this deck are actually pretty simply built. They're mostly just searchers. So first up, we're going to have 4 copies of the BT10 Hydramon, who allows you to get 1 fairy type and 1 plant or vegetation type from the top 4 cards of your deck. Rest go to the bottom. The fairy type is so that this card can pull Bloomlord, who is actually not a vegetation type. He's considered a fairy instead, which allows you to always pull him as well as another vegetation Digimon, which is what most of the deck is actually made up of. Next, you're going to want to run 4 copies of the brand new Pomumon. This card came out in EX3 and is probably one of the biggest reasons the deck saw a lot of power increase. And that's because he has the effect of whenever he gets rested on a turn by an effect that you can rest one of your opponent's Digimon. I mentioned before that with my Digitama, I really want to focus on card draw with this build. And another card that really promotes that philosophy is going to be 4 copies of BT1 Hydramon, who lets you on play grab a level 4 from the top 3 cards of your deck and add it to your hand. Again, I'm searching to get as many pieces as I can quickly, and this is one of the ways to do that. And then finally, rounding out the level 3s, I've got 2 copies of the BT10 Mushroommon. He's just good because he fits the profile for some of the effects we're going to need later, and he's just a nice cheap vanilla. So if you only have 1 memory to work with, you want to put your opponent on 1 as well, then he's the way to do that. Hopping into our level 4s, most of these level 4s are just going to be weenies, with the exception of just 1. And it's really just because you want to use the effects later in the deck so that you can get these guys out very quickly. So the first 4 copies we're going to have are going to be the BT5 Zasomon, or Weedmon, I think in English. Again, he's just here because he's a cheap evolve for 1, and he's also a 3000 DP vegetation Digimon. That vegetation 3000 DP limit is going to be really important in just a moment. He does have the Digiburst effect, but this deck doesn't use it at all. Again, he's just used for his cheap cost. Our next level 4 is going to be super simple. It's just going to be really easy, basic vanilla BT10 Red Vegemon. Again, super cheap play cost as well as super cheap evolve cost at 1 and 3. And then he's also got the 3000 DP limit that we talked about for Weedmon, and so that's going to be really important going forward as well. And our last set of level 4s is actually going to be the most important one here. That's going to be 4 copies of BT10's Sunflowermon. This card's really important. It's got the heaviest evolve cost out of all the level 4s. However, it's got the best effect, and that is whenever you Digivolve this Digimon, you can rest one of your Digimon and then play a 3000 DP or lower vegetation Digimon on the board. So you can rest a Digimon, something like the Pomumon here, and then play another Digimon that's 3000 or less, which includes any of the level 3s as well as the Zaso and the Red Vegemon. So you can also grab any of the level 4s as well. Also on Inheritance, whenever you would rest a Digimon by an effect, you can draw a card. So while I think that the level 3s and level 4s for this deck are fairly set, level 5 is definitely where the ratios become a little bit trickier because there's so many level 5 effects that it's hard to fit in everything that you want. So it's really going to be dependent upon what you want to do with the deck, what do you feel most comfortable with. And so I'm going to give you a bit of everything with this deck list, and then after you play with it a little bit, you can see what's most important to you and make the ratio adjustments as you see fit. That being said, the level 5 that I think that all decks will include at least 4 copies of is going to be 4 copies of the BT10 Ayataromon. Like the Sunflowermon, he allows you to rest one of your Digimon and then play another Digimon that's 3000 or lower DP and is vegetation type. The good thing about him is that his effect is not a Digivolve effect, it is a main effect, which means you can use it every single turn that he's on the board. So if he sticks around, then you get a lot more value out of him. Additionally, in Inheritance, whenever you would rest one of your Digimon by an effect, you can gain 1 memory. Next up is 2 copies of BT3 Blossomon, fantastic card because it has Digisorption 3, which means you can rest one of your Digimon and then Digivolve into this guy for 0. Now this deck would have run 3 copies of Blossmon if it would not have been for the fantastic level 5 Argomon. Again, he's also a Digisorption 3, which much like the Blossmon allows you to Digivolve for 0 by resting one of your Digimon. He also has the added inheritance bonus of being able to attack and then play a level 3 rested green Digimon on the board, which when we talk about level 6s will make their effects even more powerful. Our next level 5 is going to be again a single copy of, this time, the BT10 Juremon. It's Digisorption 2, which means it's a 1-cost level 5 Digivolve, which is still fantastic. This guy is solely in the deck just for defense. He allows you to once per turn redirect one of your opponent's attacks into one of your rested Digimon, which would allow you to either save one of your weaker Digimon on the board or stop a security swing from happening. Next up we have a single copy of EX3's Entomon. He's a 4-cost Digivolve with a Digisorption 3 ability, meaning he's a 1-cost Digivolve if you can rest one of your Digimon on the board. He's just really good at getting that last swing to close out games, being able to unrest if you have 2 or more rested Digimon whenever he's Digivolved into. If you can imagine a scenario where your level 6s attack into your opponent's security and then they wipe out the last security, but you need that last single hit, you can Digivolve one of your level 4s into this guy, and then if you have 2 rested Digimon on the board, he can unrest and make that last swing to get the game. So our last level 5 for the deck, as well as the single non-green card in the deck, is going to be level 5, you guessed it, Chimeramon. If you imagine yourself in a situation where you have rested 2 of your level 4 Digimon and you still need 1 more swing to close out the game, you can DNA Digivolve those guys into him, get some effect underneath him if you need, and then you can swing for game. So the level 6s in this deck are incredibly powerful. The entire deck is built around getting to them as quickly as possible and then using their effects to control the board and win the game. The first card we're going to talk about is 3 copies of the BT10 Bloomlord, allowing you to rest one of your Digimon whenever he Digivolves into him, and then for every Vegetation and Fairy type rested Digimon you have, you gain 1 memory, and if you gain 2 memory, he unrests. So you could rest him if he's not rested, and then after his effect would trigger there, you get the memory back, that's more than 2, then you'll be able to unrest him and attack afterward. Additionally, for that turn, he also gets Piercing. And then finally on your turn, for every 2 rested Digimon that you have, you gain plus 2000 DP, as well as Security Attack plus 1, which lets this card go through a ton of securities in a single swing. So if we want to think of Bloomlord as the sword for this deck, then this next card is going to be the shield, and that is 3 copies of EX3's Hydramon. This card is incredible control. So whenever you Digivolve into this fella here, you can rest either one of your Digimon or one of your opponent's Digimon. And then on both turns, yours and your opponent's turn, whenever one of your opponent's Digimon will be rested, you can gain memory equal to the amount of other rested plant and vegetation and fairy type Digimon on the board, excluding Hydramon. So if you have 2 other Digimon on the board, you would gain 2 memory. If you have 3 plus Hydramon, you would gain 3 memory, that sort of thing. And then finally, at the end of your turn, if you have 2 or more rested fairy or vegetation type Digimon on the board, you can take one of your opponent's Digimon and return it to the bottom of their deck. This effect is so powerful, and at 13,000 DP, this guy's kind of tough to remove, so when he hits the board, you get full control of pretty much everything there. Alright, so that's going to be it for all the Digimon. Let's talk very quickly about some of the options in the deck. First one is, of course, it's a green deck. We're going to have 1 copy of limited to 1 per deck. Hidden Potential Discovered. 0 cost, rest one of your green Digimon. Next time you Digivolve, it's going to be cost -5. And because this deck wants to rest the Digimon through a lot of effects and get a bunch of effects off of that, this card is fantastic for this. And the next option card is going to be one of Samde Shamde. Again, rest one of your Digimon, great for this deck. You can rest one of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, and then the following turn that Digimon or Tamer cannot unrest. So a good way to just get rid of something on the board, or make sure it's rested so that you can attack into it, or remove it with the Hydramon's effect. Either way, really good card. And then the last option for the deck is going to be 2 copies of BT10's Grand Del Sol. Being able to rest one of your opponent's Digimon, and then sending a rested Digimon back to the bottom of your opponent's deck is fantastic removal. And while it is kind of heavy at 8 cost, if you have 2 or more rested Digimon on the field whenever you play this, you can reduce that cost by 2, making it a 6 cost option for removal of basically anything in the game. And with decks like Examon rolling around in EX3, where once they hit the board they can control out very well and it's actually kind of hard to get rid of them, Grand Del Sol is a great option to send them far away. And then finally, the Tamer choice for this deck is very simple. It's going to be 4 copies of BT1 Mimi. Being able to get to level 5 in this deck is actually pretty simple. You can get there really quickly, especially with a lot of the Digisorption effects and the cheap Digivolution costs. So once you get level 5 up and you have a Mimi up, you can start opening up extra eggs per turn and then sending them to the battlefield from the raising area. This allows you to have more Digimon on the board to get better effects from things like Bloomlord and Hydramon, as well as more Digimon to rest to get effects off of the Sunflowermon and the Ayataramon. Keep in mind that you do want to use these Mimis very strategically, because if an opponent has a Dexmon and you promote the egg too quickly, then it just gets wiped in the following turn and it becomes a cheaper cost for the Xmon to come out into play. So really keep in mind how you're using your eggs and make sure you're going to save them and promote them to the field from the raising area when in turn you're going to make a big push. And so that's going to be the deck in Bloomlord Hydramon Green for EX3. Bloomlord when he came out in BT10 was so-so, but Hydramon really does put the deck over the top. And with the addition of Pomumon being able to help control out your opponent's boards and rest some of their Digimon so you can either attack into them and get rid of them before they get too big, or by using them to gain memory off of your things like Hydramon's effects is really useful. Keep in mind, this is a very jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none build for the deck. So if you find yourself playing, you say, oh, you know, I need more defense in some cases, then you might find yourself tweaking the ratios for level 5 so you can include a few more Jureimon. If you find yourself really needing to get to your level 5s, level 6s even quicker than this deck provides, then hey, maybe take out some of the things like Entomon and include more Blossommon so you can get the cheaper Digivolves out. Anyway folks, I'm gonna get out of here. And before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button as well as the subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.